Everyone out there in C&T world, welcome to our live restream. I'm Sophie Scardacci with Creative Spark, that's C&T's online learning platform, and today I have Shannon and Jason here. Hi!
Hello!
So Shannon and Jason just put out a new block series, a new classes, and it's made up of 7 classes, but you can get a bundle. I'm going to put the links and everything up in the chats, but we're going to take a look and hear about this is kind of a new thing for us that they're presenting. So tell us a little bit about, actually, I'm going to bring up a little quick picture. How about that? We'll start with that.
That works. Yay!
Yay! I'm going to actually go to the overall quilt for a second. So, tell me a little bit about Scrappy Wonky. This is the
Scrappy Wonky Quilt Blocks.
The one back here behind us.
Okay.
So Scrappy Wonky Quilt Blocks are an abstraction of some iconic quilt block. We've got the log cabin. What else is on there?
The pineapple
block. A couple of different star blocks, including Oh My Stars 1, which is the sawtooth star,
which is the ninja throwing star.
No, that's the sawtooth.
Oh, okay.
There's the ninja throwing star, which is based on
the friendship star,
which is based on the friendship star block.
For those of you who recognize it, friendship star is also a ninja throwing star.
It looks more like a ninja throwing star. And we were teaching in class, and we were renaming everything after songs and everything. It was a really fun 2-weekend workshop that we did this in. And when we said friendship star, I was like, I can't even say that.
I can't make myself say it.
I'm like, we call it a ninja throwing star block.
Yeah.
So there's that one. There's the log cabin, which we have renamed
Genie in a Bottle.
Yeah, we've renamed the log cabin to the Love Shack.
Yeah.
But Genie in a Bottle there, that one that's not in that quilt right there that Jason held up.
Yeah, this one.
Is of course, dun 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 dun. Yeah. But what we've done is we made that one up.
Yes.
I mean, that one, and the rose block, which is Sophie's.
Oh, I know. I have a lot to say about the rose block. Oh, and I have a good picture of it too. Let me share that screen. Let's get through.
The Scrappy Wonky Rose.
That's a pineapple.
There we go.
Yeah, that's these 2 blocks.
It's these 2 blocks.
Okay, so here's the thing. I've been working with Shannon and Jason for a while, making classes. They have other cool classes on our site, and they happened to share with me this rose block, and I might have begged at that point. It was begging. It was begging for you to put I was like, I would have taken just the 1 block. And then I get this email that they have a whole series, and I was freaking out because I really am excited about this. And right before we went live, we've had some discussion that we'll share with you. But I just love the approachability of their blocks and their style, and so definitely that's something we're going to get to talk more about in the next few minutes too. If you have any questions about the class or how anything like that, feel free. Oh, Zena loves the rose blocks. I know they're really awesome, and
they're fun to make. The thing with all of these is that I think every time I make one, that I'm like, oh, this is the one I'm obsessed with.
This is my new favorite.
This is my new favorite. And then I make the next one, and I'm like, oh, no, this is my new. And I make so many of all of them.
Right.
And I work up here on the 3rd floor of our home, and Jason works down in the 1st floor of our townhouse here in Seattle, and I'm constantly taking pictures and texting them to him.
Right.
It's
I'm not walking up all those steps every time.
But that rose block is so much fun to make. It's once you get it, you get it.
Right.
And then you just kind of keep going.
Building. And then you can start changing colors with it and adjusting.
We've had folks do blue roses. Right. Yeah. They did the blue roses. They did all pink. They did all yellow.
One of our students did them all with shirts.
Work shirts. Her husband's old work shirts.
So pillow ticking sort of thing. They're very cool.
That she was supposed to be like repairing, and now I guess they've both been retired for like 15 years, so they never got repaired. So she made them. It was all blue and white and like grays with stripes and checks and stuff like that, and she made them into these rose blocks.
So that's such a great idea to everyone out there. Like, you can recycle or upcycle, clothes or things like that into these projects.
And thus,
well, that's
the Scrappy part of Scrappy Wonky.
Yeah,
The part of the Scrappy is that we are genuinely using scraps. I mean, you can't see. You can pick up one of the boxes. This is like one little box of scraps.
Yeah,
this is the type of scraps that we keep.
Boxes.
And there's more scraps.
Boxes everywhere.
There's cases down here by my feet because we're working on some stuff right now.
Yeah, so there's.
But it's in this table over here. Oh wait. Right, there's just one handful.
Like big scraps.
So many, and now they're all over the floor. But it really is about using the odds.
The odds and ends that you've got laying around,
and the odd and things. A lot of this we use, for scraps. We use a lot of the fabric that we've been saving for special, Sophie, I know you do this.
I'm just waiting for the perfect project.
Behind me and piled it over there. But yes, I do save things.
But I mean, it's like a fat quarter or like a charm pack or something like that. Or
that you can't make an entire quilt out of.
Great idea for like
someday I'll find the perfect project, or else you just get it out and pet it. And look at it. And
I just love this yarn. I know I do that with yarn too.
We do that with yarn, with fabric, and with just about everything.
So, everyone out there, if you've had that charm pack that you bought and you thought, and then now you're like, or maybe it's like, but when you incorporate it with all these other fabrics, it becomes its own new fresh thing.
It does.
And I think one of the things we're talking about is one of the things I love about Shannon and Jason's style is it's really approachable. I think I'm not always the most color confident, and it always feels like there's not, I know you have a vision, but there's not like a little less planning per se in how you have to put the colors in. Absolutely. You want to go into a little bit about that, or how people reacted to that?
It is 100% about just grab and go.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about, prep and getting your scraps all there where you can just grab them and work with them. And if you're going to be working with strips, cut some wild strips and all wonky. So you're not measuring anything. Right.
There's nothing measured.
We don't do anything with a ruler.
No.
Everything is either free cut or mat cut, which we'll talk about that in all the classes.
Yeah.
But, ruler cut, I mean, just the tiniest for some of the weird stuff. But for all the ones we're doing, and as a matter of fact, all the ones we're doing in here, there's no ruler cuts. It's all mat cutting or free cutting, which it's not scary. But anyway, it's just grabbing whatever fabric happens to catch your fancy. If you look at some of these blocks behind us, these don't look like colors that, believe me, when they were separate, they don't look like colors that would go together. And we're just grabbing them and putting them in.
And yet when they come together, it's amazing. They're so beautiful.
It's crazy. And we did get a little planned with some of the new Genie in the Bottle blocks.
Right.
Like sometimes you wanna. And I had all these little scrap packs from Cherrywood Hand-Dyed Fabrics.
Yes.
Which we saw on our website.
I thought they might be cherry.
Yeah, and this is left over from the colors of my Pride quilt.
Right.
As well as some of those blues.
So you can always choose.
Oh, okay.
Really, wild.
Go close with that. That is just absolutely just grabbing out of that shoebox that he picked up. It's grabbing whatever comes up next and slapping it on.
Right. There are a lot of reds or red tones in there with a couple of blues, some darks, some lights. It doesn't.
It's just that way because that's what we were using in one of our last classes.
But then if for those of you who want to get a little fancier with it, you can do.
Oh, so if you
dark.
That's a pineapple.
That is a pineapple.
A little less abstracty.
Right.
I don't have the old one here.
I've got one. I've got it right here.
If you can go. Oh yeah. So this is purely all scrap.
Wow.
Right.
Whereas this one, we've got the lights.
It's still scrap,
in a certain area. It's still crap. It's still scrap.
Not crap.
It's
scrap.
not crap.
Thanks.
Scrap.
Thanks for that.
No, it's still scrappy. But the way that we've thought about how then the colors are going to lay out, you've got the brights in one area and the
all lights and then all darks,
Yeah.
and all darks, and to do
And
that.
that's a really fun, like, extra little technique that gets covered in the classes. I want to go over a little bit more on how these classes are running, because they're a little different than how we've done other ones. So I'm going to pop up on the screen kind of the series, so those of you that are watching can see what it looks like. So this kind of course series has 7 classes in it, and there's 6 blocks. And then there's a 7th class that's what we call putting the Scrappy Wonky together. And that's kind of different methods of maybe and strategies to piecing it all together.
Right.
So you can buy these classes as an individual class, or you can get the bundle. You get 25% off when you buy the bundle, and we have a payment plan on that too. But in each of these classes, they're going to have a live date. Now, if you can't make the live date,
that's fine.
No worries.
Right.
Because
the best thing about these is they're all recorded. And what we do is we go back after the live, and Jason goes through and edits a little bit and just cleans things up so there's not a lot of dead time, and divides them into chapters.
So that you can go directly to the part of that class that you want to see. If you need to go back and see it, that's the other thing.
It just makes it easier.
You can always rewatch this. It's not a one-time thing like a lot of classes where you only get to watch it the one time. You get access to this to go back again and again and again to pick up things that maybe you missed the first time.
And again, you reorganize it into sections that make sense.
It's one of the better
rewatch
pre-recorded or recorded classes because of the way Jason edits it. So it's really good. I'm always impressed by Jason's editing skills. But so, for example, our first class is Scrappy Wonky Log Cabin in 4 corners, and that's April 30th on a Saturday.
Coming up.
Yep, they're always on Saturdays, and they're at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And so for 2 hours, you get to be in a virtual classroom. This isn't a webinar. This is an actual class. Like you can see each other and show and share things.
Ask questions.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just a really great person style, and you will feel part of a community, which I love about.
It's amazing. It really is amazing. Yes.
Yeah. So so that's the first one, and then there's about one a month. I'm just going to say they're not like equally spaced about, but you'll see them all there. And again, if you're like, hey, I just want to jump in and try one, you can. And then you can always buy, or you can pick and choose which ones you want.
Right.
But every time I start looking at, like you said earlier, one of them, I get so excited. I'm like, oh, wait, no, I want to do that one. I mean, the Sawtooth Star is like, I'm really good.
That's a wonky sawtooth star like that. Folks are, I've been a quilter my entire life. I mean, I literally don't remember the first time they had me help. But for me, blocks like the Sawtooth Star were intimidating.
Yeah.
It's like
they're all of those points, all of those angles, and you want to make sure that they all meet up perfectly.
And I can do it. It's one of the first blocks that I did.
Yeah.
That and a ninja throwing star, a friendship star block are some of the first ones that I did in home ec in high school. When I was, outed as a quilter. So I can do that, but most folks are intimidated and don't want to jump in there. And I can tell you the way that we do it is that with sew a straight line.
Can you sew a straight line? Okay, you're ready for this class.
The genie in the bottle, I always say that, but then the genie in the bottle is a curved line. But that's not, well, it's still just a straight line in your sewing machine. If you can sew a straight line, you can sew a curved line. That's right. Yeah. And so it's really, breaking it down so that you don't have that stress. You don't have that anxiety over trying to have perfectly met corners and all the angles are exactly the same. I get it. There's an appeal for that, but this, look.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. And
kind of a wild abandoned.
I'm going to be in there making my Scrappy Wonky. Now, when we're in class, are we just watching? Are we sewing, or a little of both? Or how does this work?
Whatever
You can
want.
do both. We're going to have multiple cameras set up for the classroom, so we'll be walking through the block and talking through it. We would expect that anyone there in class with us will probably want to work along, so they can get their hands in and ask questions while they're working. But it isn't a requirement, obviously, because you can always watch later and then ask questions.
Because it really depends on your learning style. Because, like for me, I like to watch. I like to watch. I like to watch a class and get the concepts and write down a couple of notes and stuff like that, and then rewatch. And do.
Yes.
And the great thing about that is with this class, you have first you have access to the forums. And the discussions and stuff like that as you go through and watch the videos. Right there from the video as you're watching, you can click and ask a question right there on the spot.
Yes.
And we get it. So you have access to that for life.
Yeah.
These classes don't expire after 30 days. You have access to them for life. So whatever your learning style is, go for it. If that day you are not, because nobody has just one learning style.
Yeah.
That day you just can't. Like there are days when I want to sew and I sit there and seriously, I'll walk in here and sit down in front of the machine. Drink like an entire cup of coffee.
The droopiness.
And I just can't. And then I'm just like, all right, I'm out.
We've had students that have had wrist surgery the day of class, and they literally could not get their hands to so they watched the class and then came back later.
Right, she just had wrist surgery the day before.
Yeah, and then they came back later and showed us everything that they'd made by watching it, and it was wonderful.
So whichever way you want to do it is fine. I mean, it's a 2-hour class, but you'll make a block. Yes. I mean, if you want to make a long, you'll make a block. And then go back and watch. While you're working, you kind of.
Oh, I just keep it playing when I'm working on a class like that. Like I would just replay it while I was doing it, and then you're catching other like tips and tricks along the way.
So whichever way you want to do it, you can do it.
Lisa says she's been wanting to make the Scrappy Rose block too. I know. I'm telling you that Scrappy Rose block.
I swear we could do an entire series just on roses.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. It was seriously. I'll tell you where it came from. It was an accident.
It was totally.
We were working. I was working on one of these. I was working on a pineapple because it's. The way that we do the classes is kind of in an order that if you don't know what you're doing at all.
If you've never made any sort of quilt block before, you can follow along.
You can start at the beginning, and that's kind of the base. Like it teaches this is how you put things together and think about the placement of pieces,
individual pieces,
so that it makes something in the end. And it teaches you how to see. It develops a wonky eye, we always say. Develop a wonky eye because it takes a little bit to do this, and that's whether you're new or if you're an experienced quilter. It really does. If you're an experienced quilter, this takes a minute.
It does, yes.
This takes a minute to like let go and be like, ah!
But my corners are matching.
And what the one girl just kept saying in class, she kept going, must make cuts with a ruler. She was dying to pick up my ruler, and I'm like, if you pick up that ruler, I will come to your house.
See that.
Get on a plane, fly to your house. And
she was like an architect or something, right?
She's an architect.
Yeah.
Oh, no, she was an engineer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she was an engineer. So it was,
making her crazy.
Everything was very straight.
But once you see it and once you do it, you can move on from there. We move into spiral style. Well, it's stacked construction first. That goes like this. That style in the first class.
Cabin, 4 corners where you're stacking things up.
That's right. And then we move into stacked that's circular, which is pineapple. I believe that's one of the next ones.
Yes, it is. Yes, that's an
then we go completely crazy, as one does, with stars. But then we come back to that stacked construction, but do stacked in a spiral.
And that's where we go with the rose.
That's where we go with the rose.
That Jason and Shannon and I were talking about beforehand is like, how is this different than, say, improv? Because there is like kind of an improvness to it, but it's
So
not
if you look,
clarified about that
Yeah.
one.
the only thing we have hanging right now that's improv are these tote bags
These tote bags, but this is
from an improv class.
Yeah.
And if you've seen our social media, you know we have an entire queen size, king size improv quilt called the Beast.
Yeah.
That was in our museum exhibit that we just closed. And improv is just it's 3 or 4 different styles of construction where you start at a starting point and go, and you're just adding fabric. You do things like stacked, you do row additions, you do stripping, you do slash and insert, different things like that. With this is an abstraction. This is looking at something.
You can use improv fabric, obviously.
It's all the same fabric
to make these blocks.
Well, and that's what, if you look at these,
the star right here, that is
that star, and at the sawtooth star, those are cuts from an improv class.
Yeah, here, I'm gonna pull it up.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the exact one.
Yeah, Sophie. That is cuts from an improv class, and we just kept them. They were cast-offs from an improv class, and then turned them into fabric for this. So you can combine improv with this, but this is not purely improv.
Yeah.
You're going to end up with a block that looks like something. That's meant to look like something.
Like this looks like a friendship star block. It is inspired by a friendship star block.
I can only think ninja. I don't know what this friendship is about now.
We can't either. I'm like,
my work here is done.
I'm like, you know what? I am not a Care Bears kind of gal. So that just didn't work for me. But you know,
I could be a Care Bear with a ninja star. Come on.
Now that I can get behind.
That show, yeah.
That I can get behind.
So these classes are definitely for like all abilities, because I think that's one thing we also talked about really quickly was like how you do not have to be an experienced quilter to join this, but you can.
In some ways, it's actually easier if you're not an experienced quilter,
right?
Because you don't have to let go of those existing rules that you've been taught over and over again. With this, it's a little more carefree, and you can just jump in and start doing.
But for folks who have quilted before, this is so, I will tell you personally, this is so freeing.
Yeah.
To do this, or to do our abstract techniques, or to do these types of techniques, improv, that sort of thing. This is freeing. It just you let your mind go and you just sew.
Yeah.
You know, every quilter talks about, I love when I get to the point of being able to sew pedal to the metal. And just go.
I love that.
This is that kind of sewing.
I want it.
Well, it is. This is that kind of quilt piecing. Piecing blocks like this. You don't get into the precision stuff until we get into sashing and all that, and that's the end.
Right, and that's the very end, and even that is not difficult.
Even that is once you get through this. Once we get to the sashing and the backing and the hanging and stuff like that, it really is. But when you're doing something like these log cabin,
like a log cabin, like
what we call the log shack blocks.
Hold it still. I'm gonna make you all big.
Yep.
But like these, it's just grab and go. I mean, this is from light canvas that we used from a class. This is the backing to the Beast. This is an old fabric that's been around for, I have no clue where it came from or where
lemurs.
It was old. That's we buy a lot of scrap fabric from like last year's
fabrics, because you don't want to be using last year's.
Nobody wants to use last year's fabric.
And there's also a lot of cool places too that like recyclery kind of craft places that you can find things like that.
Yeah.
Sure. So okay, well, we have been talking like a while about this, and I hope everyone's as excited about it as I am.
And we are.
And
yes. We're excited about
the first class starts April 30th. Of course, if you can't make that class, it'll be recorded. You can join the whole series. You can get parts of it, whatever you want. I have no doubt there's some roses in there. But I have a feeling we'll talk about this too, maybe in a couple months as the course has been going along, and we'll catch people up on what's been going on, and hopefully have more things to share about the series. So, Betsy said, I love a good scrap busting pedal to the metal project. This sounds so fun.
Right? I mean, when you've been,
Yes,
so
Betsy.
our last 2 books have been Sashiko, and very, it does have a freeform feel to it, but the Kogan work that we were doing for our last book, which is coming out this year, that's all thread. And so it's counted thread work. And let me tell you,
that's slow stitching. That's not pedal to the metal. That's
your brain needs a break.
Yeah.
And after you watch the news all day and you've seen the news go by as much as you try to avoid it, and it feels like your brain's about to explode, grabbing your scraps, grabbing the fabric that makes you feel good, that you're not being told by a pattern that you have to use, grabbing the fabric that makes you feel good and just going
I'm not having to worry if, like, in my mind, does it match? Does it look like, I get way too caught up in that. That's what I'm really excited about personally.
Well, we both took art in college.
Right.
I mean, it was one of the electives, but we took beyond that. And I'm telling you, when it came to color theory, me in class, this was me. Seriously, color theory bores the living daylights out of me. It's like, I get it, but we teach more a lot, and I know he's really good at it. But
it's how I see the world. It's
right.
And I see hues and shades.
But with me, it's more of, I feel these colors. I always talk about, like, we're ambassadors for Cherry Wood Hand-Dyed Fabrics, and when we're talking to Carla, we talk about the owner. We talk about weights, and it's not about the weight of the fabric; it's the weight of the color. And so for me, color has a density. It has a weight to it. It has a feel. It has emotion behind it. And so we teach a lot of what we do based on that, combined with that.
Right.
So you get the logic and you get the touchy-feely version of color.
I can walk into a room and take a look at the blocks that Shannon has made and realize what it is I'm supposed to make for dinner by looking at them.
I love that.
Okay, so this is a chicken masala sort of night.
It's chili.
Exactly, that's exactly right.
I don't even know what you're saying, but now I want chili. Thanks a lot, Sophie.
You're welcome. I took a great chili class from them, so that's why.
But, like, seriously, now I want chili.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope you're as excited as we all are, and we would love to see you in class. If you have any questions, reach out to us at Creative Spark at ctpub.com, and grab your spot today.
We're excited about it. This is going to be it's fun, it's freeing, but at the same time, I mean, look at
it's beautiful.
Look at this stuff. That's very nice.
We appreciate you staying on board and chatting with us, and we look forward to seeing you all online very soon. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.